He doesn't look very happy in the thumbnail. Okay, so I watched like the first 15 seconds of this. When this popped up, I was like, oh man, I want to see this. But then I was like, wait, even better, see it live on stream. So I pre-watched the first 15 seconds.
This is gonna be an interesting video, guys, but
Whoopsies.
let's take a look at it.
Whoopsies. I didn't mean to start it yet. Okay, so the TLDR of the video is like, there's a lot of good things about GDKPs, that loot system incentivizes a lot of behaviors that we like. Encouraging people to stay till the end of the raid, encouraging geared and experienced players to attend, and a loot system where everyone in the raid gets something valuable for their time. Those are three, like, things that have nothing to do with gold buying that are very good about the GDKP loot system that are, like, not present in a main spec over off spec or soft reserve raid, you know? There's also, obviously, the bad side of, like, people buy gold and then through buying gold, they can, you know, break the fairness of the loot system by, like, having more gold and getting more items and whatever. So, like, I think a lot of people just focus solely on the negative of GDKP, and I wanted to make this video originally to be like, look, there are negatives, but there are also these very real positives. So, let's see what Guzu has to say. I suspect that he will acknowledge the good things that I say about GDKP, but if I had to guess, I would say he will just say that, like, the gold buying in his, I'm guessing his opinion will be that the negative influence of gold buying is just too severe in his opinion, and that's a bigger negative than the positives I mentioned. And I also think he will love the proposed loot system I put at the end. Okay, those are my predictions. Let's go. My name's Simonize, and welcome to another Simonize. You can turn off the background music. We'll talk about GDKP rating in World of Warcraft Classic.
Yep.
I'm sure you've seen plenty of other videos on YouTube professing how GDKP is ruining the game and GDKP is equivalent to just doing real money transactions. Should I move my face?
Okay, I'm a little bit, yes, I feel like he's like targeting me a little bit with this. I did used to do some GDKPs back in the day, but I stopped doing them in late TBC because I personally just don't really like what it does to the game, okay? Like, is it the end-all be-all for why RMT is a thing? No. But is it a big driving factor for RMT?
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It really, really is. In a perfect world where nobody bought gold and nobody did RMT, I don't really think it's actually like really a bad system if nobody did. But the fact of the matter is that so many people do, right?
Yep, absolutely. Really just GDKP bad seems to be the popular opinion. This is not another one of those videos.
Okay.
I think GDKP is one of the best things to happen to Classic, and it's emergent player behavior. The previous loot system sucked. GDKP is a clearly better system, so now GDKP rating is popular. I'm happy that GDKP rating is popular in Classic because I think the benefits outweigh the downsides. Today,
I will say, I think the big reason why so many people like doing GDKPs and like doing it was, first of all, the raids are actually very clean. Like, the people that are hosting the GDKP raids are extremely, extremely efficient because they have incentives to make them efficient. They want to make 100%, more gold, right? So they want to make the raids as good as possible. So there's, overall, the GDKP raids are more consistent and performing better than normal SR raids, right? And a lot of people that then do the raids then make gold as well, right? So I definitely see the incentives of it.
Yeah, like, I don't want to sit around wiping to General Vizax all the time, or like wiping because, you know, or like failing the like Hodir DPS check or something because 20 weeks into the phase someone like can't figure out the mechanic, you know? Like, shit, I do not want to do that. That's not fun. I want to go in, I want to blast, and I want to move on.
The reason why I personally don't like it is because I just think it's drawn so much RMT and botting and stuff like that into the game, which I don't like, obviously.
I'm going to talk about why GDKP raids are good, why they are bad, and finally about how to fix the problems or maybe create a better loot system than GDKP. Now, if you've been living under a rock the past 4 years, you might not know what a GDKP raid is. Damage. It's very Luthien, thank you for the Prime. Thank you for 7 months of support. I appreciate that. Welcome, welcome. We're seeing what Guzu has to say about my GDKP video. Very simple, and the very simple rules lead to some very good...
Okay, hold on. I know, like, guys, my brain... sorry, I just have to talk about this. He has a literal speedometer for his DPS called Pargometer 9000 that shows his, like, DPS. I don't know what this even shows. Sorry, I just had to mention that, okay? It like...
He noticed the illustrious Pogometer. You guys, the Pogometer, it is, hang on, should I move you guys? Should I move the chat also? Let me move you guys over here for now, because there's old chat and new chat right now. Yeah, okay, that should be good. The Pogometer, this thing on screen right here, it measures my crit RNG. It tells you if I'm getting above or below average critical strikes, like above or below expected. So it literally just tells you if I'm getting lucky or not. It provides no information for me to make useful gameplay decisions. It's actually one of the best UI elements I have.
Okay, I'm gonna keep watching. Sorry, I just had to get that out of my system.
It's very simple, and the very simple rules lead to some very good things. Simon. When an item drops, it's auctioned off to the highest gold bidder.
Yeah.
The bidder pays the loot master, gets the item, and the gold from all winning bids is put into a collective pot.
A big pot.
At the end of the raid, the gold pot is distributed to all participants. Derek's, yes, it's a WeakAura. You can find it on my Discord in the add-ons and WeakAura's channel. And Lesser of Zesser, yes, I'll absolutely upload the reaction to the reaction. And Cosmin, hello, Cosmin RBK, welcome. I keep doing this. It keeps minimizing. It will be a perfectly even split, but often there are larger shares given to people who take on essential and important roles like tanking, raid organizing, or loot mastering. Yeah. That's it. So let's talk about why this is such a good system. First,
so the people that are hosting the raid usually take a cut. They take like a 15-20% cut of the whole pot, and then they just yoink that. And the rest, the 80%, gets split amongst the rest of the raid, right? That's pretty much it. And the reason, the big incentive for people to host these raids is to get that juicy cut. So let's say you have a pot of $1 million gold, the raid leader then gets, 200K, right?
First and foremost, in my mind,
just insane.
When you attend a GDKP raid, you know you're going to walk away from that raid with something valuable for your time.
Yeah.
This is a really big deal to me, and I would bet it's a big deal to many other players. I don't need my 4-year degree in mathematics to know that when I select 2 different soft reserves in an Ulduar raid, my odds of even seeing either of them drop are low. And even if they do drop, my chance to then also win the role is even lower.
Yep.
I go into a soft reserve raid expecting nothing but a repair bill. I go into a GDKP raid knowing I'm going to either walk out with a fat sack of coins to spend on gear next week, some upgrades for my character, or both. And the consumes, enchants, and repairs are easily covered, so I don't have to worry about that.
I genuinely really understand this. Like, it makes sense. You join a GDKP, as he says, you get a lot of gold, you maybe get some gear, and it actually does make sense. It really, really does. But
like, this is the biggest thing
raids and being part of the GDKPs, they're really good, really efficient, but it's just what it does to the game itself that I think is really bad. I mean, we've all seen all the botting videos and all that stuff, right? That's what's bad about it, I think, and that's why it's really just horrible.
A GDKP raid, the gold that is split amongst the players isn't distributed until the raid is over.
Yeah.
That creates a massive incentive for all participants to stay until the end of the raid. Gone are the days of your tank leaving after 4 Horsemen is dead and they lost the role on Broken Promise tanking sword, and then you have to replace them mid-raid. You might be surprised how much less often someone's cat catches on fire, someone randomly disconnects without saying anything, or someone gets into an argument about something stupid and leaves in a GDKP raid compared to a main spec over off spec roles raid.
Yeah.
Raid wipe because someone made a mistake? Well, people are going to think twice about leaving the raid, knowing they're leaving behind a few thousand gold. they'll be much more likely to stick it out, buff up, and try again. With gold being both...
It really makes sense what he's saying, though. It genuinely does. But I just think that it's like in a perfect world where like nobody's trading gold or anything like that, but they are. Everybody. I mean, not everybody is, but a lot of people is, right?
Both a reward for participating in the raid and a currency to get items in
Why
the
does it
raid.
keep minimizing when I do this? I want to pause it. Okay, hang on. Yeah, so I mean, this is it's pretty much going as expected. Like, Guzu's recognizing the good things I'm saying, and he's just evaluating it as, like, the negative influence of the gold buying just, like, in his mind ranks higher than these good things. What the hell? There we go.
The raid, even for geared and experienced players who barely need any actual loot drops from that raid. They can save this gold for the next phase of content, they can spend it on quickly gearing up alts in other GDKP runs, or save it up to have a good shot at winning that last item they need. A main spec overall spec or soft reserve system with terrible odds of seeing anything worthwhile for your time has little or no reward incentive for a geared or experienced player to attend. Unsurprisingly, the lack of incentive in those runs and existence of GDKP that does provide an incentive has a drastic effect on the average player quality found in each type of run. Because
it's true. If you have a fully juiced up
3 for 3,
character with max gear, like 5.8k gear score, whatever you hell, it's insane. But because like you can go in, you can pump raids, and you know the raids are gonna be smooth. You know you're gonna get a massive cut because you're pumping the meters as well. It does definitely make sense. Like it really does. But it's just I'm just sad, man. I'm sad that what it's doing to the actual game. I feel like, because I feel like it's all just like like I don't know, like a war to get money. Like everybody's trying to get gold and gold and gold, right?
GDKP can provide a reason.
I feel for Guzu too. I mean, like, I wish Blizzard could devote more resources to banning bots and issue more severe punishments to people they do catch buying gold, and like really come down on this. But like, it's just not the world we live in. Like, you know, until that actually starts happening, it's like, until that actually starts happening, until Blizzard actually starts banning bots and really attacking the real money transaction problem, like, I'm not going to hold out hope. You know, like, I'm going to be pleasantly surprised if it does happen, but I don't really expect it to happen.
For geared and experienced players to attend, they have many more geared and experienced players attending. It's very simple. There are fewer wipes, less wasted time from people not paying attention, and less need to explain mechanics over and over. So we know why GDKP raids are great. There are very obvious benefits to a GDKP loot system compared to a main spec overall spec or soft reserve loot system. I'm not comparing GDKP to things like EP, GP, or Loot Council, because those are systems that really only work within a committed guild of the same roster each week. GDKP can function without needing to commit to a run every single week. You're out one week, no problem. Attend a different GDKP that week, or skip the week and come back next week.
Usually when you get into those GDKP like communities or systems, you usually get like weekly spots every week, because they know you are either like a big buyer that's gonna buy a lot of gold, buy a lot of items, or you're like some person that's gonna be like you know, pumping every single week, and they know they can rely on you, right? So they have their pumpers always, and they have their buyer, they're like, you know, item buyers, right? And it becomes like just becomes a system where they just make more and more and more and more gold, and like.
Yeah, it's like, a lot of people will say, like, oh, you have to have a zillion gold to get into a GDKP. That's the only way to get into GDKP. But it's like, no, the competent raid leader knows that they need, you know, skilled, competent players to make the run happen. You get into a GDKP either by having a shitload of gold and, you know, being expected to spend it, or by being a competent player and being able to convince the raid leader that you are a competent player. And yeah, like, okay, there, just like everything, it's like, yeah, you can have you can have corrupt raid leaders. Corrupt raid leaders certainly exist in the GDKP world, just like they exist in like the soft reserve world, where it's like, oops, I didn't mean soft reserve, I meant secret reserve. I'm taking the onslaught girdle. You know, like, you can have people that behave disingenuously in this system. You can have people that behave disingenuously in other systems. Yeah.
The raids are gonna be more and more clean, right?
Your points are transferable. Unlike the rapport you build up with your teammates in a loot council system or the EPGP points you accumulate in that system. Let's get to the bad. The elephant in the room.
Are you a streamer getting into all our GDKP wearing glaives? Yep.
Outside
you
of
could
a
do
GDKP
that too.
raid, then bring that gold to the raid and have much more buying power than other players, getting more loot for themselves.
Essentially making it just like, you know, pay to win in a way. You could just like buy a bunch of gold and then buy the items in the raid, right? Solvik, what's up, dude?
This breaks the fairness of the loot system for the items. Players with more available gold will generally acquire more items. A good loot system should be fair for the participants, so this aspect of GDKP I view as a negative. Some people would argue that this would be okay as long as the person actually farmed that gold in-game.
But there's no way you can like monitor that though. The only way to really monitor it is to like actually take care of like, not take care, but like the bots, right? The botting and like the way that like that gold is getting into the game unethically, right? It's
That's the real, like, the real solution to the problem. But that's something that, you know, requires Blizzard to output more effort or spend more money on something that doesn't directly, immediately create profit for the company. So, you know, it's just kind of unrealistic. But I think he might have guessed where I was going with this point and then reacted, but he incorrectly guessed where I was going with this.
I think. It really is, because let's be honest, man. A lot of those people doing those raids, they aren't farming Sons of Hordir dailies. Right?
It's a daily quest. Come on.
Day, right?
It would say this is only bad if that extra gold came from the person choosing to violate the terms of service and exchange real-world currency for in-game currency on a third-party website. I actually think that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to my experience as a GDKP participator, non-gold buyer, infrequent gold farmer player. Whether someone bought gold, farmed gold, or is an auction house wizard manipulating trade good prices to their advantage, my experience in the GDKP raid is the same. This player acquired...
Yep, I mean, if you only care about the end-game rating,
Biku, hello? Are you still raiding on Era? Yeah. That starts in about 45 minutes. We're here. Let me see if there's Molten Core invites up yet. No one posted yet that I can see in guild chat, but yeah, we're planning to do Molten Core, 5 p.m. server time. We're reacting to Guzu's reaction to my video right now.
Don't care about, like, that's the only thing you really do, then yeah, it probably doesn't matter. But I think for the longevity of the game and longevity of like the health of the game, I think it's horrible. I think it's very bad personally.
Yeah. What he's saying about
Fake the Cat, thank you for the 8 months Prime.
With the longevity of the game, that's absolutely true, and I agree. Like, long term, you don't want people spending real money currency to acquire, to like mesh with the in-game currency, right? Right. You don't want that. It's bad for the health of the game overall. So when you have a system in the game that strongly incentivizes that behavior, that's a negative. But strictly from the like in-game perspective of like I'm participating in GDKP, it doesn't matter if someone like farmed 30 hours in-game to come up with 30,000 extra gold, or if they swiped their credit card for, I don't know, $30 to come up with 30,000 gold. Either way, they have 30,000 gold and can get 30,000 gold more worth of loot. You know, that, you know, whether it's farmed or bought, it's broken the fairness of the loot system. Yeah, Lindorn, I mean, like, all of Phase 2. I mean, I geared up Simon 3 exclusively through GDKPs, starting with, I don't know, like 25k or something at the start of the phase and Nax gear. And it's like, well, Simon 3 was like my second best geared character at the end of the phase.
Big pog damage.
Josh 850 with 5 gifted subs. Thank you very much. I appreciate your generosity. Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much.
Big pog damage.
Only inflates more and more each new content patch. Yeah. So I get to that actually soon in the video, is about the inflation problem. Gold outside of raid and now has far more resources than me to bid on items. I'm sure the ease of buying gold increases the frequency of players bringing large amount of gold into a GDKP raid, but the effect on my experience is essentially the same regardless if the gold is bought or farmed. Even when that does happen, other participants. Yeah, okay. This was a bigger gold. This was admittedly one of the weaker points I made in this video. I could have spent this minute talking about something, you know, a little more significant. But like, I was trying to make a point on just like the fairness of the loot system. I want the loot system to be fair. Biku coming in with a prime 3 months. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Says, wow, Simon, you're the best. One player spends an extra 100,000 gold they didn't have at the end of last week. Now each of the other 25 players in the raid.
Then that gold gets spread within the raid. Yeah. So like, and then if you're in like the GDKP communities and like if you're within those raids, you're gonna get a buttload of gold, and the more gold that like people like really bring into those raids, the more gold you get as well, right? Even if it's like people buying gold and bringing that bought gold into the raid, right? You just make more, right?
Has 4,000 more gold they wouldn't have otherwise had, and have more buying power than next week. The more someone acquires gold outside of raid and spends gold inside of raid, the greater the buying power of the other participants.
If you're in like the GDKP communities, it's great because like you just make more and more gold, right? You just make an insane amount.
The person acquiring gold outside of raid has to gradually acquire more and more gold each week to maintain the same advantage in item buying power. This is because the GDKP loot system fundamentally does not have a way to tax gold out of the system.
Yeah. It keeps it in the system, really, and like the more people that come in, the more people that do it, right? I'm an expert lead. GDKP's average pot at this point is 15k per raid, and starting bids for most items like 15 or 20k. I just think it's so crazy still. I mean, I did some GDKPs back in TPC, and even back then, dude, like some of the Sunwell like tier pieces would go for like 20, 30,000. It is absolutely ridiculous, man. It's just crazy.
Once a player spends gold in a GDKP, it pretty much stays in circulation within GDKP participants.
I mean, not really, because it also affects like the rest of the game, right? The people that like
Not
then
really,
don't participate in that, they're also gonna take it's also gonna affect them, because like if the entire economy of the whole server gets inflated, right? Like it's like more and more people get gold, that means that normal items also becomes more inflated too. So if you're a person that doesn't participate in those things, you know, it affects your gameplay then, right? But for the people that do GDKPs, yeah, it doesn't really affect them too much, because
I think this is actually not a great point from Guzu. He's saying like, as players have like just these insane piles of gold. I think I got invited. What do you mean invited? Think you got invited by wait, explain. Ironhide, can you tell the weak aura for your weapon? The weapon display is an add-on called Item Rack. You can find all the add-ons and weak auras on the Discord. What do you mean invited? Oh. Smart. In-game. Smart. Yes, I did. Okay, so what I was saying is, Guzu's saying, like, the GKP players generate a crap load of gold. Now they have like so much more buying power. They don't care if a potion of speed is 10 gold or 8 gold or 5 gold. They're just gonna be like, whatever, I'm buying it. And he's saying like the raising price of these goods that are desirable by all players, you know, negatively impacts the people that aren't in GDKP. And to a little bit of an extent, that's true, because like you get a fixed amount of gold essentially from doing daily quests, doing dungeons, doing raids, like your normal player activities. and like that can put a squeeze on that essentially fixed income. But if the price of all these goods is going up, it means you can earn more gold per hour farming those goods. Like, price of crystallized fire goes up because a bunch of GDKP buyers don't care what the price is and are going to buy it anyways. Well, then you can make more gold per, time spent if you go out and farm crystallized fire. It makes all the activities you do to participate in the economy more valuable. So I would say this is a weak, it's a true criticism, but I'd say it's a weaker criticism that Guzu has here.
Because the inflation goes crazy if everybody has more gold, or at least a big part of people has more gold. And I think that's where the big problem is.
The main things that deflate the gold is existing players quitting and not trading their gold supply to anyone, or new players entering into the GDKP raid scene. Thus, the gold existing in the scene is spread amongst more players. I think it's very fair to say that the forces inflating the gold are much stronger than those deflating the gold. Players bringing in gold that was acquired from outside the raid, whether is bought or farmed, causes inflation in the system. So that's the second problem, inflation. Inflation of the gold leads to a bit of a public image L for GDKP raiding, because many spectators assume ridiculous things like, everyone who participates in GDKP is gold buying. How else could they have so much gold? Well,
I don't think everybody is, as I said earlier, but I think a lot of people probably are. But it's, because if you get into those communities, you can make a buttload more gold. Bosi, thank you for the prime.
This remark from Simon Eyes over there. Wait, I gotta get the air. I'm pointing. This remark from Simon Eyes over there mostly came from, I get a lot of hateful YouTube comments and a lot of people saying dumb shit in my Twitch chat sometimes. That's how I get the perception that there are so many people just like frothing at the mouth being like, oh, how could he have 100,000 gold to spend on shoulder pads of the intruder? He must have bought gold. And it's like, no, that's not what happened. But, congratulations, Oh, I can't remember. Was it 100K or 135K? For a rich player like myself, I can't keep track of every 100,000 gold I spend, Lester of Disaster. There was those were the two biggest. I'm kind of exaggerating here. Those are the two most expensive items I ever bought in GDKP, and they were in the same raid. I bought shoulder pads of the intruder and a pendulum of infinity, and the total of those two was 230,000 gold. Yo Command Dao with a prime sub, thank you very much, I appreciate that. Thank you for 10 months. A regular non-terms of service violator player who participates in GDKP will just have huge amounts of gold from those inflated payouts from the inflated gold in the system. And most viewers won't understand that and assume illicit behavior. Obviously, with more frequent injection of gold into the system, it will inflate faster, but let's not pretend like we'd be trading in hundreds of gold if no one ever broke terms of service. We'd absolutely still be trading in tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands for the really special items.
I think that's hard to say though, because that's just like that. That's not real, right? That doesn't exist. That's
it is a fantasy land. But like you can
really
farm
know that, because the fact of the matter is that people do buy gold, and like a massive amount of people do it, and we know that people do it because the bots are there. The bots wouldn't exist if people didn't purchase the services that the bots provided, right? So
the way I came up with those numbers of like still bidding tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands is like, man, I look at it and like, I know I can farm Black Temple for 1,000 gold per hour purely from vendor prices. And it's like, man, if Comet's Trail was 100,000 gold, if I expected to be able to win like the most desirable item of the phase for 100,000 gold, well, yeah, then that 1,000 gold per hour Black Temple farm supplementing my income from the GDKP payouts is much more attractive. I base those numbers off of like literally how much gold I could farm in game while not participating in the economy. A farm like Black Temple, where you're just You're just selling stuff to a vendor. You're not participating in the economy. You're just generating gold.
It's a pretty clear sign of that. You have about 3 years of gold buying inflating the economy to the point it is right now. Yeah, it's been going for a very, very long time, right? It's been going on for like, you know, since basically like classic WoW, really, right? It's been for a long while, for sure.
Just takes more time to accumulate that much. If no one ever broke terms of service to buy gold, in-game gold farming would be more relevant. In this fantasy world where no one breaks the terms of service,
Yeah.
I think that viewers would just be complaining that it's unfair they can't compete with players who have a rogue to farm Black Temple or a paladin to farm Karazhan, rather than complaining about gold buyers. The fundamental problem with the system isn't that people are buying gold, it's that they can acquire large amounts of gold outside of raiding in any form and use it in raid to break the fairness of the loot distribution.
I don't think so. No. I think the issue is that people are buying gold. That's the whole thing. That I feel like I do agree with some of the things he's saying to a certain degree, but the fundamental problem with the whole thing is the bots and the RMT. Yeah, I do see the whole time investment thing and like all that stuff, but it wouldn't go as crazy without it. The whole gold buying stuff, right? Do you think?
Yeah, maybe in hindsight, this was not my best point made in the video. I was really trying to emphasize that just like any way that you bring gold into the system to give yourself more loot acquisition in GDKP is essentially breaking the fairness of the loot system. That's really what I was trying to emphasize, and I maybe went a little bit overboard with the points I made trying to support that argument. I think this is a Simonized L. This part is a Guzu W. That like, yeah, the real problem is the gold buying. I change my mind. The problem is the gold buying, more so than like the fact that one guy could farm Black Temple and get more loot.
Gold buying is going to be a thing in official hardcore 100%. If you have an MMO that has an economy, there will be people selling gold.
Yes,
within
there
that
will.
economy
Yes,
for
there
real life
will.
money. There will 100% be, yes. Because there will be people that want to buy gold, right?
That being said,
Yeah.
I know for a fact that you can raid in GDKP without buying gold and without farming gold outside of raid and acquire a lot of best in slot gear.
Okay.
I know because I did it, and I did it in a raid where I'm quite sure there were some other people that were frequently buying gold.
Yep.
I collected
Okay.
my payouts each week and spent them on gear the next week. No big deal. I came out of Phase 2 with a nearly full best in slot character, ready for Trial of the Grand Crusader, geared exclusively through GDKP. Again, not buying gold, not farming gold. So we've...
Well, I feel like it's a little bit of a weird thing. I see what he means with it, but like that's what I mean. But if you get into the community, or like the GDKP community, and you are a frequent raider within those raids, you will start earning a whole lot of gold as a person that maybe don't buy gold, right? Because you get into the community of it. But the thing about it is that it hurts everybody else that's like not within that, because the entire server economy inflates as well, right?
What I was trying to emphasize here is that like there was a lot of criticism of GDKP saying like, oh, you have to buy gold to get gear, or you have to buy gold to participate. And I was trying to push back against that and be like, no, you don't have to buy gear to participate. Like, you can participate in this without buying gold. And that's just what I was trying to push back with those statements. Identified some problems and some benefits of GDKP rating.
Okay.
Instead of complaining and saying GDKP bad, let's think about this, and I'm going to offer some ideas on how you could make a better system. Okay.
I don't know if there needs to be like a better system.
I think this is my favorite part of the video, and I think the way, if you don't want GDKP to exist, I think the way you beat it is you come up with a better idea. An idea, a loot system that's more appealing to more players. You know, I think it's a war of ideas, you know?
necessarily. I feel like it just needs to be, Blizzard needs to take a better look at the botting and like the RMT and all that. I think that's where the root of the problem is.
I don't think Asmongold reacted to
so
this video,
rampant,
at least
right?
not that I'm
Just
aware
like
of.
when The Undertaker threw Mankind off the cell in 1998, GDKP came onto the scene and rightfully suplexed main spec over off spec and saw...
I don't know if you really can ban GDKPs. I don't know if you can do that. Wait, what did he say?
Threw Mankind off the cell in 1998. GDKP came onto the scene and rightfully suplexed main spec over off spec and soft reserve raids into...
Yeah, I don't know, man. Okay, maybe I'm old school, okay? But I kind of like rolling for gear. I kind of like that. Maybe it's not good, great, like, because people don't make gold and whatever the hell.
Okay,
But
rolling for gear, look, it's exciting sometimes, but I tilt out of control when like the mage who was spamming Blizzard on the single target boss rolls the highest on your illustration of the Dragon Soul, wins the item, and then whispers you trying to sell it to you. Okay? And the only reason they could do that is because, shit, man, they got invited to the raid and they rolled a 99 and you only rolled a 96, so I guess you're less deserving of the loot. Fuck. Okay, rolling for loot, like, it has some high highs of, like, being really exciting, but it also... Wow. Look, it's also bad sometimes. Is that why you aren't playing your Warlock anymore? Yeah, that's why. I never got illustration of the Dragon Soul. I mean, that example literally happened to me once. I joined a soft reserve raid for a Sartharian. There was a mage who spoke probably not any English, who spammed Blizzard literally the entire time. High rolled on this is a real story. High rolled on illustration of the Dragon Soul, and then started whispering people trying to sell it to them. Okay? After the loot was in their bags. I'm not making that part up. Although, you know, like, I'm sure it's happened other times. That literally happened to me. and since then, I was like, maybe I'll give this GDKP thing a try, where, you know, loot out, you know, who gets what loot isn't determined randomly.
But it's kind of cool seeing a bunch of people roll off, or you do like a death roll for some loot or something. Call me old school, but I feel like it's pretty goddamn cool to see, alright?
Obsolescence. If you want GDKP to go away or to substantially change, you ought to provide a better idea. It's cringe every time someone suggests GDKP should be banned instead of that person suggesting a better system. Now, to start with, I can't imagine a way to meaningfully improve upon the GDKP system for pug raids without Blizzard implementing something into the game. Maybe that's because I'm unimaginative, but I think we're in the territory of needing Blizzard to do something to improve the situation. Since
Personal loot could be a thing, but I don't know. I don't think there's really a big bad thing about rolling and stuff like that. Personal loot, I can see why people don't like that.
Hey mate, found your videos on YouTube, really like them. Nice content, says Krankeschwein91. Greetings from Germany. Well, hello. We're reacting to Guzu reacting to my video. And then we're going to do classic era
like
raids.
Even more RNG. Personal loot is ass, but it's the only way now. I mean, personal loot would 100% fix the whole issue with GDKPs and stuff like that. It definitely would. 100% it would. But would that be like the ultimate fix of it? I kind of like that, like, you know, the whole raid drops some gear and like you can see it, you can roll for it and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think you should need to go to the root of the problem, which is obviously the RMT and the botting.
Yep.
Personally,
I mean, it's Blizzard needs to do something.
Yeah, because people still are doing it in retail, I suppose, right? People would just personally bid off items that they got. That's true. Yeah, that's actually true. Maybe we are the issue. Maybe.
Lorena asks, when will we get the leveling BIS list for hardcore? I was literally working on a video today. It's not a BIS list, but it's about gearing on your hardcore character. Some weapon drop opportunities, so hold tight on that one.
We, the players, are the problem. You know, we just play games differently nowadays.
they're so
Because I think the issue, a big issue is like people will always do the most efficient way of playing the game if they have the option to do it. At least most will, right? If you can do an insanely efficient puck raid once per week, you get some gold, you get some gear, they will do it. Why would you join that? Why would you not join a GDKP and make gold and stuff? Where you could join an SR raid, lose gold, and then, like, you know, maybe get some loot, right?
Consistent that it
It's
costs
rough.
them too much money to ban bots fast enough, and they're unwilling to issue anything more than a slap on the wrist punishment to players they do actually catch buying gold.
That's true,
Let's
Heiscam.
explore a different angle.
I do think it's been an issue for a very long time, but it's become a lot more prevalent in today's nature of playing the game. So I feel like everything has to be a lot more efficient than it was back in the day. Or maybe I'm just jaded and I'm like more aware of it now.
No, I
knows?
think Guzu's true.
reality,
The players
I
approach the game differently than they did a long time ago. His point about like players wanting to just optimize the shit out of everything. I think that's definitely true. Triggerma says, "What's your thought on marksman versus survival?" I don't know. I don't play a hunter, and that's not what we're talking about right now. So yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I've seen many raids, both a streamer with BOA gear and other characters that can prove they got a lot of gold and do nothing in the raid, get boosted and try bid for gear. Yeah, I mean, sometimes a GDKP raid will like know they've got enough good players in there to clear the raid efficiently, and then they'll just like take whoever else that like has a lot of gold. And different raid leaders will organize different GDKPs differently. Like some raid organizers, they're really just there to put together a competent raid, and like they don't care if your budget is very big. That's not a large percentage of them. You know, some will be kind of, you know, wishy-washy, and others will be like, the sole purpose is maximizing the size of the pot. You know, put the carry players at the absolute, you know, minimum number to get the raid cleared and bring in as many huge buyers as possible. So there's a spectrum of like how GDKP raid leaders will organize their raid and what their priority is. You have ones that will like just try to get the biggest pot possible, bring as many buyers as possible, and the bare minimum number of carry players. And then there's like the middle, and then there's like this way. You get the pumpers and the oilers. Yes, Jaxers, hello. No, Blizzard won't do anything at all, but let's just pretend for the sake of this video. So Old Idiocracy rogues fighting. Yes. Simonize versus Guzu. Let's get Maint and Boyka in here, and then it'll be a party.
Existing loot systems in the game are free-for-all, round-robin, group loot, and master loot.
Yeah.
Maybe I forgot one, but it doesn't really matter. Those all pretty much suck, even more than soft reserve or main spec over off spec rolls, which is why those slightly improved systems were used for so long. I want a new system, and I want to call it the auction loot option. It would have a little box
The auction.
with a countdown timer, similar to how loot pops up with group loot.
Wait, I think he thinks I'm just going to describe GDKP all over again. I think that's what he's thinking right now. A new system called auction. But no, we're not going to bid gold in this system. But we haven't gotten to that part yet.
Highest bidder name and a button
I mean, that's kind of the same, though, isn't it?
You see, he says the same.
Reverse, so there's just wait, that's the same.
allow the player to bid more and become the current
Damn
highest
it, Jaxers, thank you for the
Then
prime.
maybe
Thank you for
grades out
11
if
months.
They don't have enough currency. When the timer expires, the top bidder gets the item and loses whatever they bid on it. Not too.
Wait, so I mean that's just GDKP though.
Wait,
So
I didn't say
so
what
you're
currency
suggesting
you
that Blizzard
use
adds
yet.
like a official GDKP kinda. Should make it so the top two have to pay instead of just the top one. Maybe without the redistribution. Oh, so you mean that he just loses the money? Oh, okay. So he's okay. I misunderstood what he means. Okay, I'm missing the point. I am sorry.
No,
I missed
he
the
just
point.
hasn't watched
So
the
he wants
enough
it to
of the
be like
video
it just
yet.
removes the gold from the game. Okay.
hard. It's pretty clear if we had players bid gold, we'd run into the same problems we do with the current GDKP rates. So
Yeah.
we don't want that.
That's
We
interesting.
want players to bid a currency that is not transferable outside of raids, and ideally is earned only within raids or
Dragon
in
kill
a strictly
points.
limited form outside of raids. We want we want emblems actually.
Okay.
I think the currency we want for this is actually already in the game. So players bid the same emblems that drop in a raid on the items in that raid. Should you
Okay.
delete the emblems from the winning bids? Well, that would instantly solve the inflation problem.
So this is basically DKP, right?
Yes,
Drag and kill
yes.
points. So you
a
earn
lot of
points
people
for the
have come
raid.
to this conclusion. Yes, the system I'm proposing is basically DKP, but your points are going to be transferable from one raid to another, and it's like integrated into the game rather than kept track of in an add-on that might break or isn't transferable to another party or something. Mackill, hello, how's it
And you can
going?
spend those in the raid to like buy items. It's essentially like what DKP is.
It would also
Yeah.
be kind of cringe when someone just raids in their guild for 10 weeks, has 500 emblems,
Yeah.
and shows up to 1 or 2 emblem auction raids to scoop up a death's verdict, and no one that in that group has anything to show for it. If the emblems were distributed at the end like the gold in a GDKP, it would be fine, because then everyone else gets more emblems for that
Okay.
one person coming in and spending a whole reset of
I'm
emblems
so sorry. I fat fingered a button.
that occurs each phase with the release of a new emblem type for the new raid is
Okay.
probably enough to curtail the inflation problem.
Yeah.
I think the incentive for geared and experienced players is not quite as strong as the GDKP system.
I'm offered.
You can accumulate emblems and eventually almost certainly have enough for that highly prized final item, but a
Okay.
fully geared character has little to gain other than converting the emblems to crafting materials and gems for sale. You can still pay others to not bid or bid much for in-game gold. I mean, yeah, sure, you could, but like, as soon as there's no like real way to spend absurd amounts of in-game gold, that loses a lot of value. What if they used human souls? That's another potential currency you could auction for your death's verdict. You know, that could be a thing. Also, let me make sure I'm not falling behind here. Okay, yeah, we're still good. 15 minutes till start. We've got 7 minutes left in this video. Okay.
Okay, I feel like people would just find a way or a reason to make that into like a GDKP again, though. I feel like it's just players just don't want. Players just want to play GDKPs, I guess. I don't know, because I don't really think there's an issue with SR necessarily. Like you choose a few items within the raid that you like, and you can have prio on, and you can roll on the rest of the items anywho as well. Yeah, maybe you're gonna get unlucky and not get gear, but that's just the nature of it, right? And if you want like a more structured way of really earning gear and like having like a more of a structured thing, you join a guild. And then you're in that guild, and then in that guild you can make whatever DKP system or loot system, loot council, whatever you want to do, right? And other people like GDKP, let us have it. It does.
I think his point is good. Like, in a guild, you don't normally have to deal with this bullshit. You have like some kind of structured loot system. What I think the appeal of a like essentially DKP system for pugs is that like you don't have to commit to a schedule. You know, you don't have to have this like rigid guild rating schedule. Like it's much more casual, and you're still earning progress towards the items you want. And like you don't do a raid and get nothing for it. I want to retain a lot of the positive aspects of GDKP and try to remove the negative aspect of gold buying. And of course, there's like you can always have like shady backroom deals in any loot system of like, I'll pay you 50,000 gold to loot me the onslaught girdle, right? Like that's never going to be a thing that's like eliminated from any loot system.
Seem like it, yeah, for sure. Problem is when you have to roll against the player from 10-man that did 0 healing and you lose abyss items to him, that makes sense. But I mean, if you put it on the flip side, that player could also just be buying gold and then like purchasing that item that you would want as well. But I guess then you would make gold from it too, right?
That should eliminate the need to farm gold outside of raid, which is nice, but the emblems cannot be transferred to help gear up your alts. The incentive to stay to the end of the raid is absolutely still there if you redistribute all the emblems that were bid at the end of the raid. You might have a problem with deciding exactly when the end of the raid is if your group is not capable of clearing the final boss. I'm not really sure how to handle that kind of situation. You probably don't want a raid leader holding the raid hostage, needing to press an end raid button when it's clear the group can't kill the last boss. Instead, you could distribute emblems after each bid, and then you wouldn't have the problem of deciding when the raid officially ends, but you also...
I feel like it's becoming so convoluted though. Right, I don't really think we need to reinvent the wheel and how like loot distribution really works, because I feel like it works pretty well. Maybe it's just the players that don't really want it.
FBD7, what I'm talking about in the video that Guzu's reacting to, that I'm reacting to his reaction, is a hypothetical new loot system where players bid emblems for items, the same emblems that they earn in those raids.
Right.
Also wouldn't have a strong incentive for players to stay to the end of the raid, which I think is important. All players attending a raid like this will walk away with something valuable for their time, just like happens in a GDKP raid. Emblems being a currency to bid on gear make them immensely more valuable than they currently are. However, since you would still acquire emblems while using other raid formats, it could be kind of weird. Everyone gets something valuable for their time in every raid format. Emblem rewards should be amplified if the auction loot format is selected, to incentivize people to actually use it, rather than farm emblems with other loot systems enabled and then cash out in an auction raid. One thing that's missing with this proposed auction format is letting players decide on unique incentives. In a GDKP raid, you can award tanks extra payouts so you attract high-quality tanks for such an important role. Or give a little extra payout to the top damage dealer to incentivize everyone to be on their A game.
I mean, I get it. I get the whole... I mean, I really understand why he...
This isn't a big deal point, but, like, it's something that isn't really built into the like, proposed auction system. What's the difference between this and DKP? Black Arrow, the point is that this is essentially DKP with points that are transferable between different groups.
Likes GDKP, because if you're in the community with it and if you're in the whole roster of it, it's really goddamn juicy, but it's the shame. I feel like
organizer a little, or in some cases a lot, extra, because let's face it, organizing a raid is a lot of work. In my imagination, this emblem auction system works pretty similar to a GDKP.
Yeah, and people want to get something out of it. I feel like that's the whole point. People want to have sort of
basically
like a
server-wide
big incentive
DKP.
to raid. This can be fixed, let's be honest. Even if you completely remove gold from the game, people would still force on buying items directly for money if it happened in other games that don't have currency. Yeah, I mean, any game that has currency like this and has like a structure where it's the players that do it, it will be incentivized to do it, for sure.
So that's a criticism that some people have, is like, oh, you know, you remove one system for buying gear, people will still buy gear. The more steps you add to allowing people to buy gear, essentially turning dollars into gear, the more steps you add to that transactional process, the less people are going to do it. Okay? The less prevalent it will be in a community. GDKP makes it very easy to turn your dollars into a death's verdict, okay? And I think the ease of that translation from dollars to death's verdict is a big factor in why, you know, the presence of GDKP has led to so much more real money transaction. You know, like, if the only way to turn your dollars into a death's verdict was to do some, like, backroom deal with a raid leader who you agreed to PayPal $50 to loot you the death's verdict, like, that's a lot harder to accomplish. And so, like, that's not going to create as strong of an incentive or as, like, widespread use of real money transaction. If you push that down away from the, like, surface, then you have less occurrence. Basically, it's like an old DKP system, but with points that are not tied to one single raid group.
Some of the benefits are not quite as strong as a GDKP system, but it does cut out the possibility of players acquiring large amounts of currency outside of Raid. Depending on how much you care about removing the influence of real money transactions, this may be a W for you, or if you don't care much about that, maybe it's an L. I think it's a W.
I feel like most people should care about it though. If you
it's a
invest
W.
your time into the game and you play WoW a lot, you probably should care at least a little bit about the bots and the RMT, right? But I think the main issue is that it's affecting the players that don't interact with the GDKP stuff, right? It's a game. Well, I feel like, yeah, I understand your thing with this, Romdog, but you can say that with everything. Why would you care? It's just a game. You care because you invest your time into it.
Change gold cap to 20k. And add Emblem auction, boom, GDKP gone. Gold cap of 20k. Oh my god, can you imagine the riots that would happen if Blizzard was like, yup, so in 1 week, gold cap's 20k and we're deleting all the gold you have over 20k. Imagine what would happen. Okay, we might have to go to the Classic Era raid. It's like almost time to start. Hang on, let me just get literally inside Molten Core. What do we have? We have 5 minutes until raids start. I'm gonna zone in, and we have 2.5 minutes left in the video. We can do it, guys. We can do it. We can stretch this 32-minute video into 1 hour of content.
Yeah, you shouldn't care. But I mean, anyone that like puts effort and puts like time into something, you should care a little bit, right? Whether it's a game or whether it's school or work or relationship, if you put time into something, you should care about it, right?
Yep, absolutely. Implemented into current Wrath of the King Classic,
to a certain degree.
It would definitely get used. I don't think it's quite good enough for it to body slam GDKP out of existence. Maybe it could be, though, with a few changes to how I've presented it here. Okay. In summary, I think GDKP is mostly good and only sometimes bad. I'm definitely happy that I can attend quality GDKP raids with low commitment in the pug raiding scene in World of Warcraft Classic. Yeah. If you're a GDKP hater or lover, wanting to comment in my Twitch chat, or just want to see which hat I'm wearing that day, you can tune in at twitch.tv/SimonizedShow.
Okay.
Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.
Oh, what? Okay, he ended up very abrupt. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have a long outro.
Take on it. I will say mostly I don't agree with him.
Badges of Justice used as DKP currency across all raid content. Not exactly a terrible idea for pugs.
Yeah, so you would be using the badges instead of using gold or like whatever to like really purchase it. I feel like people would just find like another way of really like, you know, making that into like an actual currency.
Guzu doesn't even play. I heard he was playing some more, trying to get ready for Ice Crown Citadel.
Sort of, like, items that are then used for currency instead. I don't know. I feel like it's a big problem. I feel like the basis of the issue is definitely RMT and botting, and just in general how people play the game. I don't know the fix to it. I think the fix is for Blizzard to actually do something against it.
Yep.
Because I feel like the loot systems in of itself are good. It's just the players are just, they're wanting to play it differently, right? And that's where the issue really relies on. People suck the life out of everything these days. Yeah, I mean, people sweat and min-max everything out to a very, very crazy degree, right? Interesting video though, very, very interesting video. I think it's interesting hearing some different thoughts on it and some other people's perspective on it. Instead of just like only hearing like the ones that I agree with or whatever. I think it's a fun thing hearing what other people say that have a different opinion, right?
Yeah, so I'd say in hindsight, I definitely, in that video, I definitely downplayed the negative aspect of like how much the prevalence of GDKP encourages gold buying. And I think Guzu was more on target with like how big of a negative that is. But I think we're both in agreement that essentially we're at the point where Blizzard needs to do something. There's not going to really be a player-created solution. You didn't cover chat. Oh, yeah, hang on. Let me move the cam back. Don't worry, I didn't have any spicy whispers in Classic Era. There we go.
Okay, you guys are back where you belong. Okay. Yeah, so, I mean, I think Guzu's reaction was, very fair. Very fair. And, like, you know, he brought up some points that, you know, in hindsight, I think I was wrong about.